Managing the budget of any city is very intimidating, but imagine managing Los Angeles's budget in terms of oversight. Well, my guest today does just that. I'm delighted to be joined by our City Administrative Officer, Richard Llewellyn. So nice to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
How intimidating is it managing or being responsible for the oversight of a budget for a city as large as Los Angeles?
It's intimidating. Certainly in rocky times like right now, it's particularly intimidating. We have a $12 billion kind of downtown budget, and if you add the utility, water and power, the airport, the port, we're 25 to 30 billion. We're one of the biggest local governments in the world.
So would we actually basically have the same budget of small countries?
Oh, bigger than many small countries.
Really?
Yes.
Prior to the pandemic, actually, the city was in pretty good fiscal health. There was a reserve, et cetera. However, in September, you estimated a fiscal shortfall that could be as dramatic as $600 million. How are we moving, and what are you feeling right now?
So we haven't totally, I don't want to give any secrets, we haven't totally updated. We're not feeling any better. The sort of around the country and around California, COVID is up again. You know, the single biggest thing to getting our revenues back is the economy reopening. And economists debate, is it going to charge out of the blocks, or is it going to kind of limp out of the blocks, or some combination? But it can't move at all until it's reopened, until indoor dining is allowed, till you can just go in a restaurant and people feel safe going in a restaurant. So, you know, the last month hasn't produced good news for us. We just need to get a handle on the pandemic. The pandemic hit just as the city was preparing its budget for this fiscal year. We're July to July.
Right.
So some of it was baked into this budget, which was a tough budget as a result, but the pandemic has been worse than we expected. So we're going to have to cut even more. It's going to be a tough year.
How much do we need the federal assistance? Has it helped? And should we continue to look for more?
We could not do this without federal assistance. That's just a fact. One of the problems with this pandemic is our revenues have dropped precipitously. Our hotel tax, most of us pay hotel tax when we go somewhere else. We're used to seeing it on the bill. We're not getting those. People aren't traveling. Our sales tax are down. Yes, people are buying online, but they're not going to the mall. They're not going to the restaurant. So all of our revenue sources are down. We need another stimulus bill. I very much appreciate, we did have one, the Corona Relief Fund. It has been critical to our keeping our head above water so far, but we need another one. This isn't a Democrat or Republican issue. It's something that both sides need to get together and hammer out a deal.
Is there anything that the ordinary citizen of Los Angeles, or just in general, can do to affect this problem from a city standpoint? Should we all be, making an effort to go out to dinner at least 2-3 times a week, or should we, what can we do?
That was the first thing I was going to say. To the extent that you can financially support your local business. And even if you feel uncomfortable going in businesses because of the health crisis, you can do carry out. It's safe enough. Get it delivered if you don't want to, that's the one thing, the very first, I think the second week, as we were all reeling from it, one of the things the mayor said was, I want everybody out there to commit at least once a week, you're going to get carry out from a local restaurant. I do think that's the biggest thing we can do. The second and most important thing, that's what we do for the economy, but the biggest thing for the economy is the virus. Wear your masks. Follow the rules, wear your masks, limit your contact. I know we're all sick of COVID. I'm sick of COVID. We all want it to be over. The way it's over is by following the health rules. That's how you're going to get the economy going again, by getting control of the virus.
And if people do wear their masks, would that also, because you're in the room, talk about Hamilton, I want to be in the room. If we all behave that way, then I would think that those that can open more businesses, meaning the mayor and the governor and everything.
No question. If we residents follow the rules, that's the biggest primer we can do and pump for the economy.
One of the other issues with Los Angeles, of course, is trying to face the growing crisis of homelessness. And, you know, I know there were some pretty substantive programs in place, and I know some additional programs went into place at the beginning of the pandemic. So how are all those being managed fiscally right now, and how is that being balanced with the other needs that you are obviously aware of in the city?
Many of our elected officials, I happen to agree with them, have said they see it as a humanitarian crisis of our time. I think we need to do something. We're doing amazing things. We need to do more. The residents tax themselves to build housing. The residents tax themselves to provide more services. We have housed more people last year than ever in history, but unfortunately more people are falling into homelessness every day. It's a tremendous challenge that is going to require temporary housing, permanent housing, services, and sort of a societal commitment. But I see a lot of that happening, and as far as how can we pay for it, we can't, but we are. You know, the mayor and council have said this is a priority. We've got to figure out a way to do it. The state has been helpful. The federal COVID relief money has been helpful. So I very much appreciate Sacramento on this one. I appreciate Washington. We need to do more. But certainly the mayor and council have said, as terrible as our budget is, this is a priority, and they hear it from their residents as well.
Should we maybe delineate because homelessness is a huge catch-all for a number of issues. I mean, there are those that are literally have lost the ability to pay for housing. There are those that have mental ill issues. There are those that have addiction issues. So how can you, from a large perspective, you can't treat it all the same. You have to actually understand the different reasons and the causes. So how is that being managed in terms of fighting this growing problem?
So I guess a couple of things. One way you can treat it all the same. And I think most experts agree, and certainly our mayor and council do, that it's easier to treat any of those problems if you get people inside.
Oh, interesting.
Once you have a roof over your head and you're getting fed and you're not living on the street, then I can help you figure out your addiction issues, your mental health issues. Most people are willing to move inside if they're given a place to move inside. You know, that's why many in the sort of the homeless community call it housing first, because you can't really treat addiction if somebody's living under a freeway. Get them the services they need.
So when you're working with the mayor and you're telling him, and the city council, et cetera, and you're telling them the lay of the land, what do you hear from them in terms of what they're hoping for and what they're afraid of?
You know, it's an interesting question. I think Los Angeles pre-pandemic was sort of in the world zeitgeist. It was LA's moment. You know, we won the Olympics. That's a little thing, but it's a symbol of sort of
something to look forward to, something to work on.
You know, the food scene here was
totally.
The entertainment scene. We always had, you mentioned Disney, we've always had production of entertainment. But the new art, the new music, the new food, tech. You know, people think of the Bay Area, we're the second largest tech city in the country. Snapchat. So people were excited, and we faced this tremendous problem of the gap between the rich and poor. That the hope was somehow we were going to start getting a handle on that. The pandemic came. So I think what I mainly hear is people want to figure out the pandemic so they can get back to the work of doing something about the separation between rich and poor.
Well, I hope next time we have a chance to chat, we can talk about more lighthearted things. In any case, it still was really fun to talk to you. So thank you so much for everything.
My
you did.
pleasure.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Thanks.